Hey out there, legal warriors, warrants for somebody's arrest. How do warrants work? How do you quash a warrant? What are the collateral consequences of having a warrant? There are some. And where can someone be picked up on a warrant and shipped back, and where doesn't that happen? If you're interested in this area of the law, if you know someone who has a warrant, stay tuned because this is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. Warrants for somebody's arrest. There's so many things I could cover, and I think I'll just start with when does somebody get a warrant? And there is a whole lot of misnomers and misinformation out there. And I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but it just popped in my head. So, pet peeve. Police officer says, come in to talk to me, come turn yourself in, come do something, or I'm going to get a warrant for you. And almost always in Washington State, that isn't so. Okay, people say, well, he said he's going to get a warrant. She said she's going to get a warrant for me. That's not how it works in almost every case, unless you're a fugitive from justice. There's always the exception. But basically, a warrant means that a judge has either signed a warrant for somebody's arrest when a case was actually filed by a prosecuting attorney, not by a police officer, or in almost all cases, it means that there is a court date that a summons was issued for, or that a defendant signed for, and then the defendant failed to appear for the court date, and then a warrant was issued. A police officer can't, in almost all cases, they don't just go get a warrant. Okay, instead they're talking in a way to try to influence behavior. What they have most likely in those situations is probable cause in their head. I have reason to believe that somebody committed a crime, and therefore if I see that somebody, I'm going to arrest them. But that's different than a warrant. A warrant is a law enforcement, database type thing that goes nationwide that says, hey, a judge has said arrest this person. So if there's an actual warrant, if you get pulled over by an Edmonds cop and there's a warrant out of Kirkland Court, well, the Edmonds cop's going to see the warrant in Kirkland Court and arrest you. Let's say there's no warrant in Kirkland Court, but a Kirkland officer says, oh, I've got probable cause. The Edmonds officer is not going to know anything about that, right? If you get pulled over, they're not going to say, oh, I magically know the Kirkland cop has probable cause. Now, if it's a notorious case or something like that, there's always exceptions. But so a warrant is not a police officer thinking they have reason to arrest. A warrant is a piece of paper signed by a judge, entered in the law enforcement system, commanding the arrest of somebody to be presented to the court should that somebody be found. So that's what a warrant is. So what are the qualities of a warrant? Well, there's an amount, a dollar amount, hopefully. There are such things, although I think somewhat illegal. No bail warrants, like if you missed a commitment, you're supposed to turn yourself into jail and do 10 days in jail and you never showed up. Well, a judge is going to issue something called a no bail warrant because you owe them the 10 days no matter what, according to the court. But a typical warrant will have an amount. Let's say the warrant is a $5,000 amount. If you're picked up on that warrant, you can pay $5,000 cash to get out of jail, or you can pay a bonding company a fee, typically 10% of the warrant amount, to post a bond to get you out. You don't get that money back, so you'd pay a bonding company $500. They'd post a bond to get you out. And so there's an amount of the warrant. Could be small, 5,000, could be huge, 250,000, could be $1 million. Or it could be as little as $500. So there's an amount, and there's also sort of a jurisdiction. Now that one's not so obvious, but most warrants in Washington State are going to be extraditable from the western United States. I always think about that like sort of west of Nebraska, where I'm originally from. They're usually not going to be extraditable from farther than that, but it varies. Each court is different. But so there's just think about it. The quality of the warrant is how much is it for, and where can you be extradited from, and that part's harder to find. So if you know you have a warrant, what do you do? Well, many things you could do. So most people think of quashing a warrant. Some people call it squash. I have a video called Sasquatch Warrant because I was, so enamored with people calling it squashing a warrant, but it's called quashing a warrant. So to quash a warrant, that means to sort of get it canceled without having to pay the warrant amount to get it recalled. So if you want to try to quash the warrant to save some money, first of all, you want to get a hold of the court that has the warrant and see, hey, do you have a walk-in calendar, is what I call it, or can I sign to get the warrant quashed? So some courts will have what I say, a calendar, a court calendar, a court time in place for certain people to come in and ask the court to just quash the warrant and put your case back on the normal track. If the warrant is quashed, your case is going to be put back on the normal track with a pretrial date or an arraignment date or whatever it is that you missed, okay? So some courts will do that, and we'll get calls from people, well, if I show up to try to get on the walk-in calendar, are they just going to arrest me? Never seen it happen. They're not trying to trick you because the court wants you there, and the whole reason why they have this walk-in calendar, if they do have it, is to encourage people to show up to court. Okay. Another version of that is being able to either sign for a court date at the front desk. Some courts will do that, and some courts will sort of have a combination of the two. I might call it a warrant recall fee, where you don't need to pay the whole warrant, but maybe you need to show up and pay $100 to get a new court date, and they'll quash the warrant. And so each court is totally different. So talk to your local defense attorney, talk to the court. If you talk to the bail bonding agency, they're just going to say, pay us to post the bond, most likely. Some will be more forthcoming. But you want to ask, hey, what are my options for quashing this warrant? But only do it if you're really intending to, okay? Because it sort of looks bad if you call to ask about quashing the warrant, then you ignore it for 2 years. So it's not fatal, but it just looks bad, right? So if they want you to come in to sign and pay $100, you come in, you sign, you pay the $100. Most of the time, they'll give you another court date right then. So that's one way to do it. Another way to quash the warrant is if you happen to hire an attorney. In some courts, the attorney can file a motion to go in front of the court to quash the warrant. And so that's usually most motion requirements. They take a week. Like if we were in South District Court in Linwood, we would file a motion to quash, and it would typically be heard on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. And then you wouldn't be paying any money. That'd be sort of part of what you're paying your attorney for the representation for, to go in and ask the court to cancel the warrant because, hey, here's the explanation of why they missed court, and now there's an attorney to make sure they're not going to miss court again. That's another thing. But if you're really desperate to get the warrant quashed, you can post the bail, either in person or through the bonding company. And in person means you might need to pay the money to the court. The easier way is to pay the bonding company their fee to get them to do all of it. So you don't have to go to jail to get the warrant quashed or canceled. You can do that while you're out of jail, and that's usually the preferable way of doing things. So that's a bit about, why the warrant would, what the warrant is and how to quash it. Well, why does the warrant exist again? Mainly because you missed a court date. And you don't have to have known about the court date for there to be a warrant issued. Oftentimes you never knew about the court date because your address, you moved and the court didn't know it, or someone was in jail, or they're out of state, or who knows what. And the only remedy the court really has if you miss court is to issue a warrant. So how do you find out about a warrant? Well, if you suspect there might be one out there, it's good to start calling around for legal advice. But sometimes you find out because you get arrested, right? You drive around, you get a speeding ticket, you've had a warrant out, you didn't know it, and that's really bad luck. How else might you get a warrant? Well, you could also get a warrant when a case is filed. If it's King County, when they file a felony, oftentimes the judge signs a warrant right then. It's not really fair because you didn't get a chance to show up, but that's what they do. So if you got a King County felony, make sure to talk to an attorney because that's sort of a special case, okay, the way King County does things. what are some collateral consequences of warrants? There are some collateral consequences, okay? The big one is if you have a warrant on a driving offense, even on any simple driving offense, driving on suspended, hit and run, DUI, whatever. If you fail to appear for court for one of those, to encourage you to go to court, not only do you get a warrant, but the Department of Licensing will suspend your driver's license until you actually clear that warrant and show it for court. And that's why you can get another charge. You didn't know you had a warrant, you didn't know you had a suspended license, get picked up the warrant and get a new charge for driving on a suspended, right? You know, if your address is updated and you check your mail, hopefully you knew about it, but there are times when we're busy or the addresses aren't right or we just miss it. So that's a collateral consequence of having a warrant. Another collateral consequence could be not being able to get a passport. I've seen that situation. You can't get your passport issued because you've got a warrant. You can't get a job because you have a warrant because of the background checks are being done. There's lots of collateral consequences to having a warrant. So it's important if you have a warrant that you'll be looked at much better if you're not picked up on the warrant. Okay, if you clear it yourself, then it looks to the court like you're taking responsibility in handling the matter. If you get arrested on it and you're sitting in jail, it's not the end of the world on the way the court looks at it, but they will look at it worse. So it's something we want to avoid. So what are your options? Pay to quash the warrant, try to get on a walk-in calendar, try to sign for a court date, or get an attorney to try to do it for you. So I hope you found this useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. More people will get information about these warrants. And if you have a case, if you need some help with a warrant or any type of criminal case in Washington State, feel free to give my office a call. Again, we've been doing this for more than 20 years. We'll pick up that phone, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.